10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good golly, Miss Molly. Welcome to the latest.
Rented lips.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Canon Film Club, where we talk about all things Canon films. And today, laddies and gentlemen, and sci-fi enthusiasts and horror aficionados, I can never say that word, aficionados, welcome to an out-of-this-world experience. I'm your host, that 70s Rock Fan, and tonight we're going to dive headfirst into the abyss, the cosmic abyss, with a film that is as mesmerizing as it is chilling. Chilling for those who are not wearing any clothes anyway. And it's time to talk about the 1985 Canon classic Lifeforce. Now, if you've never heard of this movie before, don't worry, you're in for a treat, because it's directed by the legendary Tobe Hooper. I always say Tobe. It's probably really Toby, but Hooper, the man behind Poltergeist, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And it's a great blend of science fiction, blend of science fiction and horror. See, I should never have taken those hard drugs.
Nah.
Yeah, that
they wear you down aspirin.
Over time. The Space Vampires was the original title of the novel. In fact, Canon wanted to call this the Space Vampires, but for some reason changed their minds. I still think Space Vampires would have been a great title. Definitely would have been a great title. But it's a crew of astronauts stumbling across three naked, unconscious beings that seem almost human, but appearances can be deceiving. They're not your typical extraterrestrials. They're energy vampires. They can feed on your soul, and they can unleash an apocalypse of epic proportions. So basically, the humanity looks like it's screwed, but in the case of Matilda May, that's probably a good thing. Then, so I mean, what a way to go! So, starring Steve Railsback, whoever remembers him, Steve Railsback, Matilda May, Peter Firth, and a couple of other notable people we will talk about. But great special effects, memorable, very memorable special effects. It's a lot of fun, this movie. So we're going to take a deep dive into that. So welcome to my friends. John, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good.
Great. What's your experience of this movie in the past?
Oh, I rented this when I shouldn't have, when I was under 18. So, but that's the advantage of having my own VCR in my room. I can watch whatever I want.
Is this a movie you think that people wore the VCR out on?
Oh yeah, there's some places where some tapes. I'm sure there's the rental tapes had places where it would be worn out quite a bit.
Been worn thin in spots, maybe.
Did I miss that special visual effect?
Yep.
So, well, good to see you here, buddy. Also great to have on the show my great friend Joe's Atmosphere. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic, brother. How are you? It's good to see you.
Awesome. This is a lot of fun. I'm sure you like me, you saw this movie when it came out.
Yeah, I did. I'm trying to remember, what year was it? It was
85.
85. Yeah, I was already in the military when this came out. Yeah. I actually watched it the first time. I want to say I watched it in Honolulu when I was on break that year. Yeah, from Johnson Island.
Break.
Yeah, I was a week-long break. It's one of the movies I went and saw during that break. Yeah. I was stationed in the middle of the ocean at that time.
Okay. Right. Hopefully on either a boat or a piece of land, because being in the
it was a piece of land 2 miles long, half a mile wide, big enough for an airstrip.
Is that Diego Garcia or whatever they call it?
No. It's a place that it doesn't even exist anymore. It's called Johnston Atoll. Okay. It had our old stash of chemical and biological weapons out there, and they got rid of it all, and they closed that place down in 97.
All right, so it's currently inhabited by the cast of Waterworld.
Pretty much. It's overgrown with coral. They flattened all the buildings out there. You can't even land a plane out there now. The only way to get there is by boat.
Yep. Cool. Well, thanks for being here, buddy. Also with us, our great friend Pope Metallicus. How are you, mate?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on. Can't wait to talk about this one.
Indeed. Well, you'd just be a slip of a lad when this was out.
I wouldn't even be around yet.
I was fixing to say he wouldn't be around.
That's right. Yeah. Well, maybe this movie was the cause of your creation. Who knows?
Could be. You never know.
And also with us is our great friend and incisive commentator on popular culture, Mr. Imperatus. How are you, mate?
Doing all right. Another typical fall day up here in the Northeast. Cold, gray, and miserable.
Yep, just like life, eh?
Mostly.
What about you, mate? Did you see this movie back in the day? Or have you seen it?
No, I was young when this came out.
Right.
So
but you have seen it.
Yeah, more recently, yeah.
Okay, good. Well, we'll be getting your thoughts on that. I'm very interested to hear what you think about it, of course, because we're all probably fans, but maybe you're not.
Yeah, it's not on my list of must-see movies, but it's not terrible either.
Okay, well, that's high praise indeed, my friend. High praise indeed. Also,
I can think of a couple of high points.
Indeed. Time to pause and say hello to everyone in the chat here on YouTube, and also anyone watching over on Rumble. Please leave a message and thumbs up over there, and leave a like and share out the stream both on Rumble and YouTube. Thank you for doing everything you had to help us. We've got a couple of super thingies already. We've got one from our great friend Darius Munchausen, who I'm hoping will be on the stream later. Darius, need to see here, buddy. Let's see. He's done the old with sprinkles, horns with sprinkles. Thanks for that, mate. And also our very good friend Christian Delorme, Whiskey Flowing Money, $5 Canadian from Christian. Thank you, my friend. Does all help to keep the lights on. For you guys, we must play a little clip of some kind. I think it's never too early for this one. Nothing like a dancing Jean-Claude Van Damme.
You know it, man. Some people would do anything to get into Hollywood.
Thanks for the super chats and stickers, guys. Really appreciate it. Yeah, but a big crowd lined up. Good to see you all here. Thanks for being here. We've got, let's see, let me start from the beginning. We have FK, my hockey playing friend, FKHC 2005. We've got Emperor's NM. Good to see you guys. We have Jonah Hex is trying to say something. Not quite sure what the message is. Maybe we'll find out later. We have the wonderful Davina Duckworth, and Davina and D-Bud is also here doing, thanks to you guys, you're always doing modding duties, wrenching duties on the stream. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Davina and Quatermass. So we're going to talk about that a little bit in terms of influences. D-Bud Martin, as you say, our great friend and Wrench is here. Thanks for being here, buddy. Good to see you. Just another red shirt, another wrench of wrenches, and he will never see this movie. Well, you're going to see a lot of it today. So hopefully it will be something that might entice you. JD, good to see you. Darth Viewer is here. There's a couple of things that are great about this movie. I can't quite figure it out. Yes, has a couple of good points. That's true. That's true. We have also with us today Read by Nature. Read by name, Read by Nature. Hail to you too. Thanks for being here. And if I miss anybody, forgive me. We'll catch up with you all later. So keep your chats flowing about this great movie. E. Clay Thomason. Hello, Cannoneers. Indeed. It's what we're here to do, is celebrate Cannon Films. Winsome Hacks. Yeah. The British Space Program. It is a very British movie, funnily enough. It's we're going to talk about that too. So, as I say, Lord Thoth is here. Great to see you. Jonah Hex. Many others. Melvin Deeply. Hello to you, Melvin. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Larry is here. Yeah, huge rentals. Huge rentals. So we'll definitely be getting into that. Anyway, let's share a few little images and get started talking about this great movie. Let me just do the thing. And I must apologize in advance because I got some builders in doing some work out the back today. So there may be some assorted banging going on. I know
some clattering.
I do mean banging, not any other kind of banging. And and I may get dragged away occasionally. So you guys are going to have to fill in for me for a minute or two. So what can we say about Lifeforce, one of Cannon's most celebrated movies? At the point it was made, I believe it was the most expensive movie they'd ever made, with a budget of $24 million, which in today's money would be something like $70 million.
That's a lot. Yeah,
it is for them. That's like 20. Huge. It's like 20 normal Cannon movies in one go. And it was double what they'd spent on any other movie. I'm not sure what the biggest one before that might have been. It might have been, had they done Over the Top by then? Can't remember.
85?
Maybe it was Heat-Man. But anyway, it was a lot of cash for Cannon, which is a shame that the box office was fairly disappointing then. $11 million US. There's no figures available worldwide. But on there, somebody mentioned VHS rentals must have been huge. I mean, this is a staple.
Had to be.
Of the VHS.
Blockbuster at the time, yeah.
Yeah. I know that I did see it in the cinema, but I also rented and then bought a VHS copy of it much later. So some great artwork for this movie as well. The 1985 is an interesting year, though, because it was up against, I mean, when it opened, it was behind Cocoon and The Goonies that week when it opened. But you had a bunch of stuff like Rambo, First Blood, Rambo 2, Back to the Future was out that year.
Yep.
That was the 5A. I remember that specifically because I was stuck in that island and had to. My dad recorded the whole thing on VHS tapes for us and sent it out about 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
To watch out on the island. Yeah.
For sure. At least you managed to see it, which is great. But yeah,
yes.
Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, I think, was out that year. Quite a few. I mean, was 85 considered a classic year? I don't know. Maybe not. Silverado, Pale Rider, View to a Kill.
Yeah.
Red Sonja, I think.
Yeah.
Over the Top was 87. It was 2 years later.
87, okay, because they spent a ton of cash on Sly's contract for that.
Right.
I think the rest of the film budget was like that. But so, bit of a flop. Tobe Hooper himself said that he figured that he would have done better if they kept the Space Vampires title, which was the original novel by Colin Wilson. So he felt that maybe Lifeforce didn't really say much about it, what kind of movie it was. Space Vampires is a great title.
Yeah, it is.
About it.
Yeah.
Like that's one of I think that's an Italian poster for it. And way back in 1979, when Golan and Globus had actually purchased Canon, they were already wanting to make this movie from the Colin Wilson novel. So right back in 79, they'd been working on it under the title Space Vampires. For some reason, didn't get made till 85. And they'd originally pitched it with Michael Winner to be the director. So like it would have been like Death Wish Vampires in Space or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can get behind this idea.
I can get behind that. Yeah. Tobe Hooper was brought on eventually, and he was hot with Poltergeist.
I think it's pronounced Toby, buddy.
Toby, yeah. I keep calling
Larry
him
saying it.
Always called him Tobe for some reason.
Yeah.
But Tobe Hooper post Poltergeist, so he was hot. Got a 3-picture deal with this, Invaders from Mars, and what was the last one of the 3 that he made?
Was Gremlins one of them? Didn't he do Gremlins?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, because he'd made the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So I guess they figured they were on a winner here. They're going to pump some money into this. Oops. Maybe we shouldn't show that one too long.
Pubes. They're not quite great out there. Yeah.
And then the German poster, I think. But yeah, I think they thought they were on a bit of a winner. And TriStar Pictures became the distributor for it. They were quite interested in distributing it, but they had a condition, that is that Canon had to both pay TriStar outright for releasing and distributing it. Like they had to pay TriStar to distribute it rather than them getting money to distribute it. And they also had to give them the distribution rights for Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo. So there was a lot of behind the scenes shenanigans going on. Canon didn't really want it. They were finding it tough to distribute stuff by this time. I think they'd lost the MGM stuff distributing. So they took the TriStar deal and lost even more money then. So I wonder if John and Joe and guys, if you could just take over briefly and chat about this movie, as I have something I just have to go and do for a minute.
Sure.
No
so
problem.
I'll be back as quickly as I can.
It's funny. The most unrealistic thing about the movie is the fact that the UK has their own space program.
Right? Yeah.
I, for one, think that's a very good thing because, you know, if they have a space program, the Scots can escape the planet, and that's not good for anybody.
Or the Irish.
That too.
Hey, watch it now.
They might get ideas about rebuilding the empire, except in space.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That's all we need is Space Britain.
Space Britain. They're going to colonize the galaxy. Is that what they're going to do? Yeah.
I mean, probably. They're going to go conquer other planets for spices and then not use them again.
Well, this is one of those rare movies that was actually covered in both Fangoria magazine and Starlog back at the time. That's what I remember the most from it was my issues of Fangoria where they covered the makeup in it. I thought the makeup effects in this were really cool with the sucked out bodies of the aliens and stuff, and how that switched places during the scene. I thought that was really cool. But yeah, that was pre-internet. That's how we got our movie news and stuff was through trade magazines, and the biggest ones were Starlog, which covered all the sci-fi stuff, and Fangoria, which was my personal favorite. It covered all the horror movies and all the makeup effects. Rick Baker was huge in it. Tom Savini. These guys are Hollywood legends now, but back then they were just getting started, and really cool stuff. I need to look up and see who did the special effects on this one, as far as the makeup effects.
I'm not sure about the makeup effects, but I know that there was a gentleman that worked on Star Wars that was a
little known guy, right?
Yeah,
his name Dykstra?
Yeah, something Dykstra. Is it? Oh, it's John, just like my name. Yeah,
there you go. Yeah.
No, John Dykstra worked on this movie, and if you know anything about special effects, you know that John Dykstra has a resume a mile long of quality movies.
He's really the father of modern day special effects.
Yeah,
wasn't
he one of the guys who founded ILM?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean they really created. I mean, Industrial Light and Magic has done special effects in damn near. If I had to guess, 75% of the movies you've ever seen.
Thanks.
Oh yeah,
because I mean, back when they made Star Wars, they were just modelers that got together trying to put something together, and they basically created the modern special effects studio.
Pretty much, like all of the practical effects that were used in every sci-fi movie and any other kind of genre, really, from 1977 to pretty much modern day, is all ILM, or at least uses the techniques that they pioneered.
So thanks for filling in, guys. I just had
no problem.
Builders to deal with. So this is some of the art, the special effects, and we'll see a lot more of later when we watch some more of the movie stills. But this is some pretty good stuff, I mean, the puppetry, the animatronics, put a lot of effort into it. This whole space sequence was actually a set, not a matte background. And they built that set at Elstree on some of the same sound stages as Star Wars. So it's a very impressive endeavor, that they did. This is the original book, which I must admit I've never actually read, which is weird. I don't know if I've ever even seen a copy of it, but
I haven't either.
Yeah, Colin Wilson was a guy that wrote a lot of non-fiction, but for some reason he felt like writing a movie about space vampires, naked space vampires. So, and who wouldn't,
Yeah, that's an interesting jump, though, going from writing non-fiction fiction to writing a story about nude space vampires. Really.
That's right. Yeah, clearly you can see what was on his mind. Maybe he was going through a midlife crisis.
Just to follow up real quick on what I was talking about, where you're going, Brian. This guy's name is Nick Malley. He ran the makeup department for this film. He also was known for doing Superman the movie. He did Krull in '83. Yeah, he's got a little bit of a resume when it comes to makeup. I was telling him about how we got all of our movie news from Starlog and Fangoria back then, and this is one of the rare movies. Both of them. So
I bought those all the time. Yeah,
I had a subscription to Starlog. That was a perennial Christmas gift for me from my grandparents.
Yeah.
So
I got them both, but my favorite was the makeup effects stuff that they showed in Fangoria. But, very cool.
So we'll take a little. Fangoria was a great publication. I miss those publications. I mean, now there's very few things like that out there at all. Yeah. Magazines. What magazines there are usually it's recycled material that's been done to death a million times, or it's just stuff I'm just not interested in. But let's take a little look at some of the people who were involved in this movie. First of all, the cast, and we'll talk about some of the others as we go through the stills of the movie. But so Steve Railsback played Colonel Tom Carlson. By the way, everyone was a colonel in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed
They all
that.
got the same rank.
There's no lieutenants; they're all colonels. You know. So
If you were a lieutenant colonel, you get to make coffee.
you did,
Yes.
So he'd he's not a guy that was particularly super famous, but he did play Charles Manson in a extremely good. There he is there, just about to kiss Patrick Stewart. In a TV production called Helter Skelter.
Yes.
Yep.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen it. I mean, I didn't see it at the time, but I'd seen it later on. I saw it many years later on a VHS copy. Pretty effective performance, I'd have to say.
Yes, it's probably the best one that's ever been done.
Yeah,
that one there was a really good miniseries. Yep.
it was. I mean, he's played other serial killers. I think I can't remember the other one, Ed Gein or something, but he certainly played another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he made a habit of it, and he'd also been in a show called The Visitor, a short-lived sci-fi series with Roland Emmerich and Dean Devlin did, which again I didn't see at the time. They only made 13 episodes, but I've seen a couple of them since, and it wasn't bad, but not necessarily a huge name.
No.
I've often thought, what if they'd got like a Kurt Russell or somebody of that stature? It might have made a huge difference, you know. I think both of them had their, whilst Railsback was the captain of the shuttle, his rank was colonel. So they were both colonels. One was an SAS colonel, one was obviously I don't know if he was a U.S. Air Force colonel, but he was a shuttle captain, but he did have the rank of colonel. So Peter Firth was the other colonel.
Always loved that guy. He's great.
Peter Firth, yeah, British actor. Colonel Colin Kane. He did many, many years of a BBC show called Spooks, which was a big hit in Britain. I haven't really seen much of it, but he was the lead in that for 10 seasons or something. Got a Tony on Broadway for Equus, which he also did the movie of with Richard Burton. And then he gets murdered very early on in Hunt for Red October.
Yes, he does. He's the political officer that gets whacked. Yeah,
you're thinking that guy's not long for this movie, is he? Yeah. The stuntman. Sorry, I've got to mention Steve Railsback, the stuntman with Peter O'Toole, which is a great movie. Blends it. It's one of these movies that blurs fiction and reality as it goes on. But Peter Firth plays the sort of British lead. SES. He does say he's SES at some point. So. Then Dr. Hans Fallada, which I always thought was a really weird name. Fallada, like Fallacio, Fallada. It's just kind of.
Look at that tie.
Yeah, look at that tie. Isn't that beautiful? British. It's played by Frank Finlay. British stage, movie, and TV actor. He's probably like the poor man's Ian McKellen.
The movie I always remember him from, he's the friggin' minister that the guys from the Wild Geese run into in that small village. Right. He's great in that movie.
He famously played Casanova on British television, which he kind of, for years, isn't that him? It looks more like Amadeus. That's probably him. He famously played Casanova in a bodice ripping TV show in Britain, which he was famous for years for playing Casanova, and then he played Porthos in the Richard Lester Three Musketeers movies with Oliver Reed and a bunch of other drunks. So pretty well-known guy, but again, it was like it mentioned if they'd put an Ian McKellen or somebody in that, although he wasn't as well known then, of course. But nothing against Frank Finlay, of course, but it just seemed like that there was certain casting could have been swapped out at various times. And then, of course, Matilda May. Oh, but Frank Finlay was in Blackadder as well, one of the episodes of Blackadder, which is quite interesting. But the Matilda May, Space Girl.
Oh, gorgeous.
Yes.
She plays two of the best characters in this movie.
That's right. She's a French actress, couldn't speak English at the time, but apparently, because it was a 6-month shoot,
Did she really need to speak in this movie?
She learned to speak English by the end of it. Frank Finlay was the witch sniffer in the Blackadder. That's right, Melvin. Yes. The witch sniffer pursuivant. She has hardly, I don't think she's appeared in anything else English I could think of, apart from The Jackal, the Bruce Willis movie, The Jackal. She was in that. Mainly European stuff. She was only 18 when they started filming the movie, turned 19 on set.
Wow.
They cast, I think they went through about 70 other actresses before they picked her. So that must have been a hellish job for the casting team.
Yeah.
Truly harrowing.
Truly harrowing.
Yeah.
Mostly French stuff she's been in. But yeah, I guess if we're being honest, she and the special effects are what made this movie.
Pretty much.
I mean, I hate to say it, that's what a lot of people remember from this movie.
That's right.
She was drop dead gorgeous.
She was.
Why she was cast.
And very natural, very naturalistic. All natural. She was a ballerina, apparently, or trained as a ballerina. So I think that really comes across in the movie. When she walks with a really, in a certain style, very precise, very upright, and it gives her a very alien feel.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was actually, she played that part in that way very well. I mean, she doesn't have a lot of lines, but just her posture was great, you know.
Mm-hmm.
She came across as an alien creature, albeit one that looks very human. So,
well, everybody that knows anything about vampire lore, forget about the science fiction part of it. The vampire lore is they're very charismatic, and you could see how she could be a Black Widow type, no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, well, when FK, she says, let's face facts, if it wasn't for the nudity, no one would remember the film. I think I do remember it for a couple of the special effects sequences as well.
Mm-hmm.
Things like this. The British National Health Service at its finest.
That's what I remember this movie from. Besides her, the special effects were really cool. The practical effects mixed with it's not computer graphics. They more like etched the film when they're doing lasers and stuff like that, lightning. It's a neat effect they came up with, man.
I mean, a fantastic sequence that, and it took apparently the puppetry for the
animatronics
vampire was like took 20 puppeteers to do that. It totally sucked. It's a sequence that sticks in my mind. Absolutely, it's going to leave a mark.
That's going to leave a mark. That's it.
Yeah, I had to cut it off because I didn't want this clip to be too long because as it turns out, I've already got a warning message about playing that, so I'll have to trim that out of the finished stream after we're done. But so I got to shorten these clips a little bit. Great sequence. So Matilda May played the main space girl. Here she is in something else. I have no idea what it is, but I know, terrible, just awful.
She's a babe. She can't help herself.
So Hale Smilek says, "I had dates like that."
Oh man, sucked the life force right out of you, huh? Yikes.
And then of course we come to
who's that?
Patrick Stewart. Sir Patrick.
I don't know who that guy is.
Except he wasn't Sir Patrick then.
Looks like
I don't think he was really ever in anything after this.
Yeah, I never heard of him. He plays Dr. Armstrong, who has a small but critical role from a special effects perspective at some point. Running a mental asylum. It's funny that it ends up in a mental asylum. He had, as I think we mentioned before the stream, he'd been in Excalibur by this time.
The measuring stick for King Arthur lore, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, it's a great movie. Yeah, great movie. And
this was one of his earlier film roles, though, because he'd been in Excalibur and then Dune in '84, and then this.
Yeah, he'd done a lot of stage work, obviously Shakespearean, whatever, all that stuff in the UK, and had been in TV since the '60s, including I, Claudius, one of my favorite shows. He played a part in I, Claudius. He was now they say this was the movie that he had his first on-screen kiss in, albeit with Steve Railsback, of course.
Rather unfortunate.
Albeit with Steve Railsback. But that's not quite true, because in I, Claudius, he did get to kiss what's the name of the girl? She was in Rocky Horror Show as Magenta, Patricia Clark.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's Patricia Clark. Is that her name?
Not sure.
I can't remember now. So he did get to kiss her in I, Claudius. Look at the hair on him there. Isn't that cute?
Amazing. I'm shocked he ever had hair.
Yeah, and he did Wild Geese too, as well, as people are pointing out. So now they market the movie as it's a Patrick Stewart movie in some instances, but he certainly wasn't a star at that point.
No.
In any way, but still great. I mean, great actor. So now one of the if I go back, sorry, no, here we go. One of the vampires, the male vampires, was played by Chris Jagger, Mick's brother. Mick's younger brother. Apparently,
and one of the desiccated corpses was played by Mick.
That's right. Yeah, in fact, look, he looks like he needs to suck the life out of somebody right there.
Who knew it was a docudrama?
It's a docudrama. Yeah. It's funny because that's what he does look like now.
Right.
But they'd actually offered the role. I think that's him on that side, isn't it? No, little guy on the right there. They'd offered the role to Billy Idol, apparently, but he turned it down, which I think is a shame, because Billy Idol would have just been awesome.
Yeah.
Rebel, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'm sure it has nothing to do with Sting being so popular in '84 in Dune.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, we'll talk about some of the other cast as we go through movie stills, but Chris wasn't really. I mean, he did some movies. He's more of a part-time musician and artist. They're always artists. But we get to the heavyweight crew that this movie had. Well, Tobe Hooper, sadly, of course, no longer with us.
The great horror directors ever.
Oh yeah, from Austin in Texas, which obviously explains the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Absolutely.
And in fact, he based the Texas Chainsaw Massacre on Ed Gein, serial killer Ed Gein, who Steve Railsback had actually played in something. So
how ironic is that? You know?
Yeah, it is kind of ironic. It's a little tie in there. He'd done Salem's Lot by this time on TV, and then did Poltergeist. Obviously, it was a huge hit.
Yeah, Poltergeist was awesome.
So really great choice, I think. And he loved working with Cannon. He did the 3-picture deal. He loved Golan and Globus. Thought they were really supportive guys. Loved movies. And Invaders from Mars and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 were the two he made after. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is actually a really good movie with Dennis Hopper. So we'll probably do that one of these days, I think. I like this. It's an actual... I don't know if it's made of metal or cardboard, but it's a neat promo item for Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I'm just looking at his filmography here. I didn't know he did Funhouse. Funhouse is a tripping movie back then.
That's a good movie. Yeah. Great director, sadly missed. But also involved in the screenplay side was Dan O'Bannon. So name this movie.
Hang on. I know the name of it. Dark Star.
Dark Star.
That's Dark Star, baby.
He
Yeah, that's
was-
him and John Carpenter back when they were in college. Yeah,
Back in college. Yeah, he played he wasn't known for being an actor, but he did play one of the roles in that.
Yeah,
One of my favorite movies of all time.
Yep.
And then got
Dark
into
Star is funny as all get out.
great
doubt.
stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
We're definitely going to do about Dark Star one of these days.
Got to.
Yeah. It's not a canon film, but we'll do it as just a stream.
It's kind of like I guess to give you an idea what it is, it's kind of like a parody, not quite an airplane parody, but it's a parody of 2001 kind of.
It is.
Is what I would call it.
The talking bomb. I love it.
Yep.
And the thing that punctures the ball.
Yeah.
Ends up puncturing it.
That's too much, man. Oh,
great movie. It's
is
like stoned out hippies in space. Brilliant.
Oh my God, it's great.
Yeah. And they never quite explain why they're going around blowing up planets. Like,
I think they do. I just don't remember what the explanation was.
They're dangerous.
Yeah,
but,
they might collide with something, or it's bizarre.
Great movie. But Dan O'Bannon didn't really act. He was in bit parts, but he was more of a writer. And he went into let's go back. He went into. He wrote some of the greatest stuff ever. I mean, he passed away in 2009 too, sadly. But Alien, Heavy Metal,
Yep.
Blue Thunder,
Yep.
Return of the Living Dead, Total Recall. He was involved in so much great stuff.
Yeah.
As a writer.
Total Recall to this day is my favorite Arnold movie. I don't care what anybody says.
Right.
I think that's the best one he ever did. Yep.
Oh, great. I think Smilex has nailed it. Why did they blow up the planets? Because they can.
Because they can. That's it. That's it. Because they can.
Yeah. Alien, well, I think it's something sexual, Alien. But it's, so a great writer. And then the co-writer, Don Jacoby, who's wrote a lot of canon stuff, including, he wrote Death Wish 3, but he did it under a pseudonym, but it was him that wrote it, Don Jacoby. And he wrote, he'd written Blue Thunder as well with Dan O'Bannon. So he was close to Dan O'Bannon, did Invaders from Mars, Vampires, which is actually a movie I really like, Philadelphia Experiment.
Arachnophobia.
Arachnophobia, yeah, he's a great writer. I think he's still around.
Well, sure except for Evolution.
Yes. Well.
Yeah.
Evolution, he wrote that? Oh my God.
Can't get them all right.
That's a crazy movie.
David Glenn says Hanover Fist did nothing wrong. That's is that a Dark Star reference? Some great stuff that he's been involved with, but the real coup in this whole thing for Golan and Globus was getting John Dykstra to do the special effects.
Yeah.
And here he is clutching one of his Oscars. Star Wars, obviously. Star Trek: The Motion Picture, and just
none of it would have happened without Star Wars, though.
Yeah.
That Star Wars is the father of all modern day science fiction special effects. Just is. Yeah.
And I don't want to minimize the role that all the production design and all the other guys, there was a lot of well-known guys in those fields in this movie. A whole crew that worked on things like 2001, Star Wars. You can actually see 2001 in the production design influence with the shuttle crew and the spacesuits and all that stuff. Silent Running poster in the background there. So it was a real coup getting all these guys, and you can see it on the screen. I mean, the effects. People criticize this movie a lot for, the script isn't great and it's a bit hokey and acting's a bit cheesy, whatever. The effects are, I think they're brilliant.
At the time, they were top notch, man. Top shelf.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Mean, it stands up against anything. The model work, the puppetry, the animatronics, the on-screen visual effects, all pre-CGI, obviously. The London burning stuff. It all looks great,
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that's a Ralph McQuarrie behind him.
It is. That looks like one of the production paintings for Star Wars. Is what it looks like to me. It could be Battlestar Galactica though, because that ship behind him's got 3 wings on it instead of 4.
Although that
No,
looks
it's got
more
4.
Star Wars.
It's just the other wing is behind his.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's got 4.
Okay.
But yeah, great. I mean, what a coup, and it really shows on the screen.
Yep.
Oh, Imp's come back in. Hey, buddy. So
and he's got a daughter that's kind of crazy but hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Chloe. Yeah.
Those two go together.
Aren't they all? So I don't. As I say, there was a great team behind him, and production and art design as well. It wasn't just him, but it's all up there on the screen. Every penny Canon grudgingly spent on this because they thought they were going to be gangbusters with this. And it started kind of the downward spiral then because they lost so much money. It was struggle.
Yeah.
But it looks
this
great.
One hurt.
Now, the score is a funny one because it's Henry Mancini.
Wow.
Obviously, Pink Panther, Moon River, Peter Gunn, whatever, tons of scores. The first ever sci-fi he'd done. And it's not a bad score, actually. It's pretty good. I would never have thought of him as a go-to guy for something like this, but he did a great job. I don't hear any Pink Panther references in it, though, which disappointed me.
No.
Just the odd dun, 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 would have been nice. Dun, dun, dun. So yeah, great cast, a great crew involved, and we're going to take a look at some stills as we do, of course. I think it's probably time for just another little video clip. Hopefully, I won't get to this. Won't get the stream.
Don't play it for very long.
Let's. I didn't play the trailer for the movie, but we're well past the point, I think, where we need to do that. So let's try this.
Let me go. 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 Oh. Let me go. Let me go.
What's going to happen now? I had to stop it there because we were getting struck with he's about to just do the famous stream kiss.
Movie's tripping.
And then all hell lets loose.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, definitely had dates like that, yeah. So let's throw up some stills and go through the movie and chat about anything we want to chat about as we're going.
John Glover did the editing for this movie.
Did he? Oh,
yeah, he's known for a lot of the James Bond movies. Oh,
right. And there is another James Bond link in this with what's the actor's name that plays Bukowski in it? Oh God, I can't remember now. I had it written down. Anyway, the actor that plays the role of Bukowski in this was
Michael Gothard.
Yeah, he was the Bond villain in For Your Eyes Only, I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So this was interesting because you're in the space shuttle, the Churchill, and I was thinking, and they're a bit cute about it because the first thing I thought when I saw this was, where's the gravity coming from? And because they're all anchored firmly to the ground of this shuttle, and they move a little. They put a little cutesy thing in about.
You'd be asking yourself where the British space program came from.
Well, they do say it's an international space program, but the British space shuttle, the Churchill, and they do explain it by some kind of cutesy sentence about they managed to have propulsion that caused gravity. Well, I mean, they're not spinning round; they're going that way. So, where's the gravity again? Where's it coming from? I don't know. Should we be questioning it? And they're heading for Halley's Comet, and that was very topical. It wasn't in the book, but because Halley's Comet was about to come up in reality, the movie they wrote
right. Night of the Comet was probably put out pretty close to this too. Yeah. I think. There was a lot of comet movies back then. Yep. And
they find this 150-mile long needle spaceship in there, and coincidentally their comms are all cut off because of the radiation of the comet.
Imagine that.
Comet radiation is a thing, obviously. This is so yeah. They're cut off, and they decide. Well, obviously, they decided we're going to go look at this thing, and who wouldn't? I mean, of course you would. They got to take a look at it. Yeah, they could, and they find a way in through the space anus.
Special effects in this are cool as hell.
It's great, and as I said, they built a lot of this on a set. This wasn't matte backgrounds. There was a lot of sets built to do this stuff, and they had the actors on cranes to give the zero gravity effect at various points. So, and they see all those desiccated creatures, but also they find, crucially, they find some more human-looking creatures.
Yes.
Yeah. Clearly dead. Well, they think they're dead. Desiccated creatures. About to put nude psychic mayhem on them. Eventually, nude psychic mayhem is the order of the day coming up. But yeah, this is when they realize that there's something, because nothing was weird about this until that moment. It's absolutely enormous. I wonder what they're talking about.
You have the biggest dick I've ever seen on a man.
So here's the space anus.
Yikes.
That they go into, because again, there's nothing weird about any of this.
No.
And they get a big net out and capture stuff. I think what the space jerky, they take one desiccated and three. Obviously, they take the hot woman when they find her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Got to
do that.
Can't take half the woman. No.
Yeah.
And the ceiling looks like part of Rob Halford's wardrobe.
It does.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So there it is, the space anus. Pucker up, they should have said. I mean, that should have been their first.
Looks a lot like the one from Star Trek, doesn't it? The motion picture. Yeah.
That's when they should have realized that, maybe this isn't quite as safe a place as we hope. But it's great stuff. It really does look good. I see Mad Martigan's making an appearance here.
Of course.
Yes.
He's all over the place.
He's all over the place. And of course, when they find, and they've been in space for a while, so when they find a naked girl, they're like, and two naked guys. Let's be fair.
Yeah, there are two naked guys.
Two naked guys too, so something for all the crew. Now, this is interesting because on the ground, I thought, well, they can't receive them. There's no radio getting through. And then for 30 days, it's like that. So they lose touch with this shuttle for 30 days, and they don't seem too concerned, like, at first. They'll be back. Which I always thought was a bit weird. But
well, this movie's a year before the Challenger incident.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And the British space program at its finest. And this is like, I've often thought, we mentioned it before in the chat, Quatermass, the British TV show and movie series, is a huge influence on this, I think. Now, this is 30 days later, and they're sending the Americans in to rescue them on Columbus.
Right.
Just don't let the woman drive. Sorry, did I say that out loud? Shit. Strike that from the record. So they find this, they find the Churchill, 30 days later, burnt to a crisp. Yeah. Everyone's dead. But critically, the 3 containers are still in there.
They're still in there. Yes.
The tug bay, is that? I was wondering if when Matilda May got in there in that container, was that why they called it the tug bay?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
But yeah, so and Doctor Who, I mean, and some would say this is like a long episode of Doctor Who, but with better special effects. But, well, maybe. Chip Panfire, yes. So it's interesting because there is a cut of this where, in effect, all those early scenes which are used in flashbacks later were actually put together and continuously done. So the whole Railsback thing what happens to him after the church, being in the church hall, because they don't find him in there, although they don't explicitly say that. That's all used as flashbacks, but they cut it all into one sequence at the beginning and then moved on to the present day. So it's interesting rearrangement of these scenes. And they're not crystal cases, they're made of force. And now we get Frank Finley's Dr. Intifada, or whatever his name is.
Intifada.
And they bring the Columbia brings back the desiccated body and the three, and that's a real BBC newscaster, I believe.
Really?
Evil Star.
That guy looks familiar right there.
He does. That's was that Bukowski? I can't remember which that guy is. But this is where things start to get interesting. We have possibly one of the greatest face masks ever. I mean, this is what we needed during the pandemic.
Yeah,
I think. European Research Centre in London, yes.
Again, that was Bukowski. Yep.
It was Bukowski, yeah. And this is where he's thinking, you know what, this job seemed pretty shitty, but it's getting a lot better. I'm glad I picked the overtime. I'm glad I picked up this overtime. The John Mills was the later Quatermass. Yeah, it was pretty good. I think most of the earlier ones are gone, but all the movies exist, obviously. And this is where he's thinking, oh, my day just suddenly got really good here. And then
it got really bad.
Yeah. Some of it's where the really great effects start.
Yeah.
Where she basically sucks the life out of him. And then, I guess because she's not hungry anymore, she doesn't dispose of Bukowski there. But Frank Finley's busy watching all this on his OnlyFans feed. So they get in and they find the guard obviously is not in good shape.
No.
To be fair, they realise that there's some shit in the fan, and there's a lot of scenes I couldn't show of her walking around the building looking for the way. And these guards are again like, okay, this doesn't happen every day.
No,
because she's a very, very attractive girl.
Like I said, all vampires are charismatic, man. They are,
right.
So.
Yeah. Did you say she was naked? Oh, and immediately they go looking for her. Of course, why wouldn't they?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Whenever they drag the life force out of somebody, that they dehydrate the body too. They like crumble if you touch them and stuff. Right?
Yeah. So they start to build up through the various things can happen here. First of all, they can suck the life out of you and desiccate you, and then they also have a power where they can inhabit someone's body, as we discover later, and also they can have a mental transference thing, which is what she's got with Railsback's character. So they've got multiple things that they can do depending on what their aims are. And then if they suck the life out of you and you become desiccated, you become a vampire yourself, and you have to feed within 2 hours, I think it is.
That's it.
But if you don't, you just blow up and turn into this powder that just disappears. Yeah. So this is both simultaneously the greatest and worst day of their working lives.
Of course.
And then she breaks out and goes off to commit naked psychic mayhem on London. And now they bring in the heavyweights. So they get bring in the SAS colonel.
Yes.
Peter Firth.
Yet another colonel. We don't have enough colonels.
It's called, there are no generals, no brigadiers, just colonels. It's the only rank that they have. Colonel Colin Kane. So he's the CCC, Colonel Colin Kane.
KFC did the catering for the movie, so that's why they have to use colonels.
That's right, yeah. So he's almost a KFC, he's a CCC. So as Davina mentioned, species, I did want to talk about that.
Yeah.
So we know there's
spot on, no doubt.
Definitely Quatermass pit and the pit influence here, but species, I think, which came after, is also very like this too.
Yep.
And there's also features of one. There's Natasha Henstridge.
Yep.
In Species. Also another stunning performance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Colonel Mustard, he did it in the space center with the naked woman.
That would be required doing that flick as well. Yes.
Can they rub their stomach while patting their head? Well, of course, they're space aliens. Of course they can do that. So I notice he does mention at this point to the press, there's a D notice in that she can't say anything. That's a British term for secret, and no media are not allowed to talk about it. D notice. Mm-hmm. And this is, the most overwhelmingly feminine presence. I think you'd have to agree with that. Now, the guys are still in here somewhere in their cases, I think.
Yeah.
But they're not bothered about them. They're just trying to figure out how to catch the naked girl.
Yeah.
Priorities. You got to have, an objective.
Need priorities here.
Yeah, FKHC knew the D notice. Yeah.
Supposedly, the narrator for this movie is John Larroquette.
Oh, right.
But it's unconfirmed.
Okay, didn't know that. Yeah. Another movie that sprang to mind, although it's a little bit different, was Demon Seed. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although that's got a much more explicit impregnation scene in it, of course.
Yeah. Just a little.
Yeah, it's not vampires, but it's alien possession in a sense. Yeah. That girl was no girl. Well, I don't know about that.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Mick Jagger and his brother are, Chris Jagger and his brother are reposing. Now I think because I wondered when I was watching it, well, how come these guys are, like her and the two guys are in perfect shape if they haven't fed? But apparently they were feeding off each other in some way over the centuries or millennia, or the three of them.
Sounds a lot like the Underworld premise where they had the three older vampires all in like a point of stasis,
Species isn't a film you ask for if you have a lisp. Species. Or Sean Connery. I was offered the role in Species. But I thought it looked like feces. So it could have been, it should have been Keith Richard and Chris and Mick Jagger should have played the two guys desiccated, I think.
Right.
They would have had to de-age Keith Richards a little bit for it, though, so it would have been tough.
Yeah. So they do shoot the shit out of these two here, but then we see one of them later on. I can't remember how he gets back into it in London. One of the two guys. Now we're getting to the key scene, which is the one everybody particularly remembers, quite rightly. I mean, I just pause it on there. Fantastic piece of art.
Yeah.
Makeup.
Yeah.
And
the makeup job and the animatronics on this were really cool.
Just beautiful stuff, I mean, a genuinely frightening scene. Done extremely well. And the reaction of all the actors, you might seem a little over the top, but if it was real and you were in that scenario, you would be scared shitless like they were. Canadian Spider-Man, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here. Yeah, hit that like button, share the stream, subscribe, all that good stuff. Appreciate it all. Thanks for your help, everybody. Yeah, so this is when we see that if you feed, you come back to your normal shape. And then, of course, you've got some poor sucker on the ground. This guy's like, what the fuck is going on here? Right. Yeah, he says, that wasn't Matilda May. That bit was okay. Who's this guy in the ground here? And now they find a naked girl in Hyde Park. So something has reached London or somebody.
Yep.
There's always naked people in Hyde Park, though, so that's not unusual. I thought at best I put
the fact that she's a skeleton is pretty much the most unusual part of that.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
So, nice piece of trivia from FKHC. The police inspector was Nicholas Donnelly, who was in the long-running British cop show Dixon of Dock Green, which had a couple of spin-offs too. And just about every well-known British actor you can name from the 60s onwards was in that show. Brian Blessed, Helen, Judi Dench, probably
Wow.
Helen Mirren, Ian McKellen, you name it. They were all
was that the Law and Order of Great Britain?
It started in the early 60s. Brian Blessed was one of the stars of it, in fact, for a while. It went on for 15 years or more, right up through to the late 70s in various incarnations. But yeah, if you look at actors who got their break start on TV, a lot of them were in that show. So yeah, kind of like that. I thought it best I cover these up, even though it wasn't attractive.
They're not the sexiest in the world, but still better safe than sorry.
Yeah, Dixon, not Dixon Signer. Pelosi, someone said. Well, not far off it, really. But, there's some great British hammy acting in these scenes. I mean, their guys are really giving it their all.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Firth looks like he's about to cry most of the time, I think.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I doing here? Why am I here? 22 years. 22 years Dixon and Doc Green ran. I mean, it was every week I watched that show as a kid. It's all right. Hey, look at Gavy's got a shooter, that kind of thing. People were getting, jaywalking would be the crime of the week, that kind of thing. British show. So.
He looks like he's about to ask for vodka.
That's
right.
And who wouldn't? And
He's
this
dreamily Russian look.
That's right. Yeah, it's very Russian look, isn't it? That's probably why he got that cast in. Is Peter Firth you're talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why he got cast as the political officer, I guess. This is where they find out that the 2-hour thing. I love the fact the guy's hand is still clinging onto the cage. That if you don't get feed within 2 hours, they just kind of explode into dust. Which is about the same for me if I go 2 hours without a drink. Yeah. And the eyes are actually pretty neat effect in here. So, yeah, this is it's neat stuff.
Yeah.
They are trying. They actually do figure out what's going on quite well. I find. I mean,
they separate the bodies and all that stuff.
They're not. And then we discover that the Churchill escape pod, exists, and it's suddenly decided to re-enter the atmosphere after being missing for 30 days or more. And they didn't. Obviously,
if you were wondering how the star of the movie survived the beginning of it, you're about to find out.
That's right. So they pick that up, and lo and behold, I wonder, did the shuttles actually have an escape pod like that? I don't think they did.
No.
It's about as real as the escape pod in Air Force One.
Yeah,
it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That's why the Challenger astronauts all died, because there wasn't any form of escape.
Yeah,
well, their whole escape mechanism was basically to just jettison the whole solid rocket assembly and then try to use the main engine to get away.
Yeah.
So they didn't see the need.
So Rail's back and his colonel. I mean, does he get over it? When you mentioned Walter Reed, did they fly him over here and there's been a time gap? I don't know. He suddenly appears in Britain with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And
was the Concorde still flying at that time?
I think it was.
Could have gotten there really fast.
That's true. So this is where he starts to recount, and they use the footage they were going to use at the start, but now they use it as flashback stuff about what happened to him, because they kind of left it like a big mystery what went on up there. And he is the star, and he's only in it a bit, and then he disappears. So,
and I did have a question about that, about this sequence of events. Did they film a bunch of this and then realize that they needed more, so they had to come back and refilm this?
No, I think they'd originally intended it and structured it so that they would do more of this footage at the beginning, because obviously they filmed all that footage in those sets, in at one point, and I think it was meant to be more of that at the beginning. Then decided, for whatever reason, they decided to restructure the editing and make it a flashback scenario rather than a here's what happened.
Because a lot of canon films
linearly.
have done this, and a lot of it was due to either budget constraints or availability of actors and stuff like that, where they filmed it out of order.
Well, this one didn't have the budget restraints that virtually every other canon film did, where they threw a lot of cash at it, and it was a 6 months shooting schedule, which was way more than most canon movies.
Yeah.
I think Tobe Hooper said they just let us get on with it. So I don't think it had. I think it was all shot as planned. It was just edited differently. They didn't go back and do extras.
To Canon's credit, they at least put all the footage in the same movie this time and spinning it out into a completely different.
Oh, I'm sure some of this ended up in later movies.
Probably did.
But yeah, somebody mentioned the green screen computers. Yeah, that's hell. I used to work on those. That was this kind of stuff I used to do in IT. Those monitors and those mainframe systems. So this is
the inventory system I use at work is still that green scale
terminals. We used to call them dumb terminals, but this was good because they just left all that open about what happened on board, and they do go back to it. And obviously, he's getting the hots because it's a naked woman in there. So it's 6 months. I think he says 6 months in space or something. Or I don't think the shuttle's got for 6 months, do they?
I mean, who knows with this story, but I think the longest they've ever had a shuttle out there was like 3 weeks.
Yeah, because you need a space station for that. But I mean, clearly the influence of these creatures is. I love this is the one bit I don't like about the art, production design is these look very fairly like they're not good suits.
No.
Yeah. They're very flat. They look
when they're hanging there, they don't, but when they're actually wearing them, they did look fairly good.
Yeah, hanging there, they look like sex toys.
Pretty much.
Looks like the helmets are on backwards.
Yeah, Davina's right. The movie structures it with tension. You don't want to know everything that happened at first up there because it would remove any tension from it. Leaving you not knowing, I think, was their plan, and then revealing it later. And Railsback and Core, I mean, there's shit's hitting the fan. This would scare that would scare me more than the
fairly well for the tension because, you hear that the shuttle had a fire when they first get up there, and then everyone's first thought is, "Oh my God, is the naked woman okay?"
That's right. Yeah. What about the discated guy? I don't know. Who cares? Yeah, but Railsback. This is. Yeah, I mean, you're wondering what's going on with this guy because he survived. They don't. And he's acting really weird. And as he explains, he's the one that basically sabotaged the shuttle and burned everything in it, and then got into the pod and left because he's clearly trying to stop something from happening. It's a very Mercury capsule-looking escape pod, isn't it? So basically, he said, "Yeah, I did all that." But why? What is he hiding? And in the dream sequence, this is where we find out that there's a mental thing between she chooses him, chose Railsback's character for some reason to have this mental link with. Maybe she fancied him. I don't know. See, it would have been better if it was Kurt Russell. That you could have understood.
Fair.
Erotic breathing. Yeah, I had to be very careful editing a lot of these scenes, a lot of these pictures. Yeah. So he's got this mental link with her, which she didn't just suck the life out of him. She chose to have this link with him. I'm not sure I ever really understood why him. I guess because he was the senior guy on board and she needed somebody. I'm not sure why she needed him. She's draining me. And he's complaining.
Right? No gratitude.
No gratitude at all. So he's having sexy dreams about our buxom bad girl.
It's like, don't you have any sympathy for this man? No, you're right. I'm sorry. We're being unprofessional. Let's get him his luckiest man in the world trophy right away.
Yeah, exactly. And then it did confuse me a little bit first time I watched it. They're going, here's another woman. I guess she's inhabiting this body, I think, and because he's linked to her and mentally. But this is a little interesting little trick, using that to find out what she's doing, where she is, because otherwise, how are they going to build that into the plot?
Yeah,
it's a bit of a plot device. And then we see Mr. Countryside here, the Top Gear of his day.
Yep.
Who are Mrs. Yeah, they can mentally possess people when they choose, not just. And I guess they never really explain their ultimate motivation. Is it to conquer the earth, destroy it, just suck the life out of people, then move on? Because if it's to a plan and not just to feed on everybody, then inhabiting someone's body would be a good way of disguising yourself. I think there's a little bit of overall what are they up to that never gets explained, especially with the ending. They just kind of, And Dr. Fallujah here. So I think we'll. I got another couple of clips here. Let's just pause that for a moment and have a little clip.
It'll be much less terrifying if you just come to me.
I'll do just that.
So I wanted to show that, even though it was the ending, because it kind of speaks to some of the questions about who these aliens are, what their ultimate goal is. Are they just wandering the universe, sucking the life out of people? Or are they trying to build some kind of... Are they collecting people to become vampires too? He says, you come to me, like he wants individuals to come to them. I never quite understood what their motivation was, other than the fact they like walking about naked and sucking the life out of people. He's totally exhausted. Well, he spent 30 days on a space shuttle with her. Of course he's exhausted.
Yeah.
And now they've tracked this this woman that's inhabited with the Matilda May's spirit. I think it's her spirit. Into this mental hospital, which is an interesting place that she lives in. I always found that a bit weird. And of course she's dangerous. She's a redhead.
I was going to say, a redhead in a mental hospital?
She's a ginger. Of course she's dangerous. Oop. And there's a little bit of hamminess in some of this stuff, with this kind of gripping and screaming and shouting and shaking. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure Railsback is the most charismatic of leads for this kind of role.
And there were a lot of other, even American actors at the time that would have been good for this role, including that looked like him, like Scott Glenn.
Scott Glenn. I guess I think Kurt Russell might have added the touch of daring do to it. That might have been quite neat. Now we get the head of the Mental Institute, Dr. Armstrong, played by everyone's favorite space captain, Not yet, though.
Sorry about that. I thought I'd muted the mic when I left the room.
That's okay, mate. So I guess at this point, they know that Armstrong isn't what he appears to be. Like, he's suspect too. I don't know quite why they suspect him. Is it because of the girl said something? But he's also, this is where Matilda May's spirit is residing right now, in Armstrong. And then who's this guy? I never could quite figure that out either. But
Well, the one plot hole I thought of this whole time was I wouldn't have let that guy, the main character, be walking around at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he was on board this thing, and now we're finding out these things can be taken over mentally. He should be in a cell somewhere,
and they know that he's got a connection with them. Yeah, he should be the one that's locked up. Yeah.
Especially because everybody else who's come into contact with these things is dead except these,
right? Except him. So I'm like,
just trust him. We'll let him in amongst us.
You guys ever heard of Renfield? We might want to consider putting this guy in a friggin' lockup somewhere. You know?
Yeah, right. Like put him at the bottom of a missile silo somewhere and never let him leave again.
I thought it was very prophetic that they put Patrick Stewart in a wheelchair there, but that's
right.
It's just foreshadowing. But yeah, they just let this railsback guy, and he's acting all weird too. It's not like he's acting normal. He's sweating like a pig, and he's like, "Oh my god, my head!" And
right,
I can hear her. I'm connected to her. Let me go. And he's just going nuts here.
Yeah.
It does lead to yet another one of the big scenes, effect scenes, though.
Yep.
And then because he sees and hears her.
I completely forgot that Patrick Stewart was in this movie. My gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I never knew that until I was like, rewatching it for the show. And then I like just seeing the opening crawl. I had to rewind it like twice. I'm like, wait a minute. Does that say Patrick Stewart?
Oh, yeah. Yes, indeed. Because he wasn't that. I mean, at the time, I knew him because he'd been in Excalibur and Dune, but I didn't know.
I was fixing to say, I'm sure people in Great Britain knew who he was.
Yeah, I mean, I'd seen him. And I, Claudius, which I've got the box set of it, is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. But he's only in 4 episodes of that. He's not in a major part.
Right.
He's got really lovely hair in it, though. Not sure it's his. But this, we're going to have to play this clip again, and this time we will show the famous.
Let me go. Let me go. Let me go. Let me go.
He's not holding on to him. She keeps saying, "Let me go." Unless he's got him by the groin.
Let me go. Let me go.
So there's Patrick Stewart getting shaken, not stirred.
Shaken, not stirred. Yes.
Stirred. But yeah, that famous on-screen kiss, but it wasn't his first. Claudius was his first, and that was a woman. Although it was, as I say, Patricia Clark, who was in Magenta and Rocky Horror. I think she looked slightly better in. She didn't look as weird in Claudius.
I was fixing to say, Magenta. They purposely frumped her down, obviously.
I think it was Magenta she played. Yeah.
I can find out.
Yeah. Is it Patricia Clark? Can't remember. But yes, great scene. And of course she's buggered off out of there with the blue light. Oh, this is stone cold, one of the best effect scenes in any movie, I think.
Yep.
The blood. And meanwhile, Fallujah is still busy looking at the men. Oh, yeah, no, he's got this magic sword. Where did that magic sword come from?
That's a great question because it just kind of
pulled it out of the
appeared in
box.
one scene.
He pulls it out of the box.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the Excalibur of the piece. I mean, he just suddenly has this magic sword that can kill them.
Patricia Quinn played
Quinn,
Magenta.
Patricia Quinn, not Clark. Sorry, she played Magenta. Yeah, she was in I, Claudius, and she did the business with Sejanus, which was Patrick Stewart. This is fantastic.
Yeah,
stuff.
that was wild right there. I remember that.
The blood.
Yeah.
It reassembles itself, and this kind of looks like syrup almost.
Yeah.
Into Matilda May, and then. Although I'm not quite sure why she did that. Like Matilda May's spirit does that. I mean, to what end? I don't know. But it's just looked good.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just I don't know, a hologram kind of thing.
Yeah,
communicating.
It's so good. The blood pouring out their mouths. I give them 10 out of 10 for that. 9 out of 10 overall. 10 out of 10. What was that? Oh, I missed a couple.
Nothing. Don't go back. Keep going. There you go. You got it there.
I had about 1,000 images to look through, so it was difficult. So
you missed one, bro.
Yeah. Now we go back to his relationship with her, and we find out that for some reason she didn't just kill him; she just bonded with him. Which, vampire periods.
He's Renfield. Come on, you got to remember this is a vampire movie, buddy.
Vampire periods are a bloody mess, indeed.
Yeah. He's Renfield.
Right, so I do like what
he's their human protector.
I do like what Phantom Outsider says here. The magic sword was delivered by the prop department. The writers just didn't care at this point. They're like, can we put some more nude scenes in?
Right. Like, oh, what about this magic sword? Yeah, sure, whatever. Just
yeah, and now we get to the fact that London, for some reason, London's already on fire. I think that's what it looks like these days as well, because it's a pretty rough city. It's on fire, blowing up. There's lots of vampire sex going on in the streets. Again, pretty much like modern day London. It's sucking up all the glowing life forces all over London. Pretty effective miniature work, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no doubt. The money they spent is definitely in the special effects in this movie. No doubt. They didn't spend it on the cast. They spent it on the special effects.
So typical for canon.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I do love the touches like this where the arms fall off and the arms are left hanging on the helicopter. Yep. And then the Prime Minister scenes are coming up. So I think what they're trying to say is that all British politicians are blood-sucking vampires.
I mean, they're not wrong. Although I'd extend that to just politicians in general.
A fiery but mostly peaceful stabbing. But here's two colonels. Which are you? Colonel, which? You're colonel, which one's which? And this guy just says, yeah, I'll take it. Yeah.
Appears to be 2 hours.
These guys know everything. These British soldiers, they seem to know everything. Like, normally in movies, you'd be clueless. You'd be like, I don't know what's going on. Nobody told me anything. And it's parked itself in a geostationary orbit directly over London. Although when you see it in the shots, it's always over the moon. So it's 250,000 miles away. Yeah, they had to put. These are good shots, though. I do like the sets here and But yeah, it's like a typical night out in a British city, really. Pretty much. These soldiers are unbeatable in the pub quiz. Yeah. I mean, they never quite. It went from, nude Matilda May walking out the building when Frank Finlay said, no, she's nude, she'll never get out of this building. Well, that didn't. She got out of the building. So it went from her leaving the building and a couple of the vampire guys getting shot up to this pretty swiftly. It didn't just go from person to person slowly. It was like all of a sudden London's on fire. So,
well, there was that lull where Renfield, aka the main character, the Colonel, was trying to explain himself and everything. So she had a lot of time to maneuver in that city. And I'm sure, dressed the way she was, she could do a lot of damage in a few hours.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is, I love the whole meeting the prime minister bit that they did. Have they done it yet, or they're about to do it? And it's, yeah, would you like a cup of tea? I mean, outside, the city is burning to the ground.
Although that is possibly one of the most English things ever.
Right?
Like the world is ending all around them. They're like, would you like some tea?
It is. The low emission zone in London isn't going well. That's right. Those cameras, those cameras are putting up
low emission zone.
Yeah. But it's also interesting that when they steal these vehicles and they're able to drive through these burning streets uninhibited. I mean, there's 12 million people in London. A lot of them would be driving out of the city, the streets.
Yeah, they'd be hauling ass. They saw something like this. Yeah.
But yeah. The Prime Minister stuff is quite funny, it's very British, and I wonder if that worked against it in America in the cinemas, even though it wasn't designed to be a British movie, being set in Britain. Maybe if it had been set in New York, it would have been more appealing. I don't know.
Well, yes, but a naked woman walking down the street in New York would just be a Tuesday.
That'd be a Tuesday. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, the fact is that, nobody had seen a naked woman like that in Britain before because they don't look like that.
Her teeth were far too nice.
Her teeth were far too nice. She had no tattoos. She had no tats. Now, what happened to Fallujah here, Intifada here, to get him? How did he get occupied, vampirized? I can't remember. Was it the soldier that he killed? No,
I don't know.
It couldn't be because that would have.
But yeah, the special effects on him right here were crazy. Yeah,
he's got that, but he's got British skin in this. Yeah, there's the Excalibur of the piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this guy's the Van Helsing of the show.
He is. Yes.
Got to remember, this is a vampire story, guys. It's not just aliens.
Especially given all the Star Wars correlations with this, I'm kind of mad they didn't get Peter Cushing to be in it somehow.
Right?
Oh, I know. Well, there you go. Peter Cushing instead of Frank Finlay.
Oh my God! Who put the clothes on her? What happened?
Well, she was getting a bit cold. Funnily enough, they did film all those scenes. She's walking around outside nude, and it was freezing. It's Britain, and it's not that warm. And the poor girl had to do all these scenes walking around naked, and she put up with a lot. I think
you could tell it was chilly, though. I mean,
oh yeah, perky. It was very perky.
Yeah.
Who knew French women carried around a pair of diamond cutters with them?
Yeah, that's right. We're getting near the climax, so to speak.
Oh boy!
Again, there's some great effects here, but just what did she need about him that was so special? I still can't figure that out. Like, why did she pick him as her life partner or something? Meanwhile, Arsenal have just lost the cup final.
That explains the entire fire.
Right, it's a football game, and it went wrong.
The hooligans are out. Look out!
It has nothing to do with the space vampires killing everybody. It's all about the football.
That's right.
Yeah. This is Liverpool on a Saturday night.
Yeah. It's like Liverpool beat Arsenal, and this is the result.
Oh man, that's too good.
And yeah, so don't get me wrong. I love this movie. I just love the spectacle of it. I still think there are some.
It's got huge plot holes, though. Come on, Brian. You know it does.
By Dan O'Bannon and Noah Jacobi. How did this male vampire get here when they were shot to shit? Did I miss that? And how did she? What does she need with Steve Railsback? What does she need him for?
Railsback is Renfield. I don't know how many times I can say.
Yeah, he's the. I guess so, because Yeah, I mean, how did he get there, and why is he dressed? Or is he dressed? No, he has a suit on, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he does.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
which
just
is
showed
good.
the scene. Yeah.
So there must have been. Yeah.
Now this is stop-start animation, right? Like they used to do in the old Sinbad movies and stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is. It was a really good
motion. Yeah.
Stop motion. It was really good, and I don't think we got to see enough of that true form.
Yeah, it was there only for a second. Yeah.
Yeah, the true that was obviously their true form, which would explain a lot of stuff about dragons and other things that we fear.
Right.
Demons and dragons. Somebody said something. It was, "Hey Courtney, how you doing? Hope your car is okay."
Courtney.
There is. Thanks for that. Is it Brie Larson's feet? Big smile. Brie Larson's feet would have fitted in very nicely. Fairly hard. Somebody did say something, but it was Eclay, I think. Yeah. So about Railsback's Colonel Carlson. I thought it was his lineage, like he had some link to his ancestry that made him special. I don't know if they explicitly said that.
That once,
It's been a long time since I've seen it. I just remember all these big, huge set pieces they had in it.
And it has to be something like that. Maybe the novel has more backstory as to who these aliens are and what they're. And if it's Halley's Comet they're within, maybe they've been round several times.
Right.
And when you look at it, there's a lot of parallels with the Dracula story of you have Van Helsing, whose family does this for over generations.
That's him right there, Van Helsing.
Yeah,
he's got the sword.
That's right. As one, so I was wondering about the sort of where do they go? That's what the energy jumping is, the blue stuff that comes out of them. So like when Patrick Stewart was getting shaken by Railsback, the blue energy came out of him. That was her.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't need to transfer by physical contact. They can travel that way into another body. Plus,
their life force can travel.
Plus, they can suck everybody else's life force out in this way too.
Which I just realized what this animation kind of reminded me of. Like if you've is the ghost animations from Ghostbusters, which would have been like a year before this.
Yeah, that's right. It's got that look, isn't it? Yeah. I mean,
like when they bust open the containment unit and all that, they have that blue like psychic energy essentially swirling around it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's peak 80s. I mean, this is mid 80s. It looks like an 80s sci-fi movie, and the 80s were a golden era for sci-fi movies. It does look like one of those. This was 3 movies crammed into one. The real story was Lady Vampire tries to escape to Earth and is followed by her vampire dad, and also hooligans set London ablaze. Kind of. Yeah, why does she feel so? She doesn't even know. Or was that him saying that? I know why he would say that.
Well, in most of the vampire stories, there's always that love interest that has gone on over time. That could be it too.
Yeah.
It could be related to somebody that, she had something to do with thousands of years ago, right?
Yeah.
Looks just like him. Kind of like Fright Night, how the teenage girl looked just like the guy that the vampire used to be in love with, right?
That's right. And there's, I mean, this stuff with the energy going up to the ship, and there it is hovering over the moon. So how it's in geostationary orbit above London, I don't know. But I never quite got it. What happened to them? Their life energy goes up there. I guess she and him go up to the ship. It's full of life energy they've sucked out of London, and off they jolly well go. And I guess that means
they'll be back in a few thousand years. Yeah.
Actually 86.
Right.
Because Halley's Comet comes around every 86 years.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
that's why I've got to live to 93 so I can see it again.
Oh. I won't see it again.
So they all live
unfortunately, I'm timed just wrong, so I'll probably never see it because I was born the year after it came through.
Ooh.
So they all live happily ever after, or do they? Because they never really explain that.
They don't really tell you.
I took it as the male vampire had been slayed with the magic sword.
Yes.
Matilda May and Steve Railsback's characters had fused or melded in some way and headed up to the ship, which was now full of life energy sucked out of Earth, and it will go its merry way around till the next time it comes back, when the process will
I
repeat.
choose to see it as a very happy ending because they get to ride off into the sunset together, and everyone else has to live in London.
That's right, yeah. Steve Railsback escapes London and gets to live with Matilda May in eternity.
There are worse fates.
So this is the story of the purging of London. Yes.
It is. It's the Purge London. But the interesting thing about the nudity part is you can get away with that, and it's got more full frontal nudity than most soft porn films even.
Yeah.
But it's because she's an alien.
Yep.
So people say, well, why isn't she wearing clothes? Well, an alien wouldn't care.
No.
She's assumed this form. What does it matter? You know, so that's
And also,
She has
Harlow's only
assumed
applied to
this
human
form,
nudity.
rather pleasing looking form, to
Yes.
seduce her prey, which is us. Yes.
Yeah. And I think it was hacked around a bit. I mean, Trimark apparently asked Hooper to cut down the runtime a bit for American release. And he said, okay, but he didn't cut any of the full frontal nudity out.
Well, of course not. He knows the audience.
Just
He
took
knows
some
where
of
his bread's buttered at, bro.
He took some of the prologue stuff out instead. And because the first 35 minutes of the film was all meant to be set on board the Churchill with all the things that went on there and then go down to Earth. He cut a lot of that out and then just showed bits of it in flashback, but he left all the nudity in, of course. And then on VHS, it became very popular. Like, okay, I'll watch that scene again. She was a rather, I mean, misogyny aside, she's a very beautiful girl. Very, very beautiful girl.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I actually think it's a hard job to act that, especially as she couldn't speak English. But as I said, the posture thing, she did very well because she did look like an alien in a human body, the way she moved. So fair play to her, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And she's hardly the only actress or actor who's had to deal with that. I mean, Arnold's early roles, he barely had any lines in his movies because he couldn't speak English that well.
Yeah.
He was just there
And
to
she
look big and
she had a
menacing.
really good director named Tobe Hooper that was directing her to do that too.
The tart that fell to earth. I think I mentioned Henry Mancini. I think the music was really good too. The theme, the Lifeforce theme, is great. And as I think John, you mentioned that John LaRoquette did a narration for some of the editions that are out there.
It's unconfirmed, but that's what it says on IMDb.
Yeah, because they butchered there's various cuts of this movie, some of which are butchered and some of which they added in electronic music instead of the Mancini theme. Michael Kamen was involved with that. But
I think they even retitled "The Day the Earth Stood Stiff."
Stood stiff. Oh, let's hang on. You've got to get something to congratulate you for that one.
You have our gratitude.
Well, I mean, you know, I've always been a fan of the vampire stories and stuff, and minus the life force special effects and everything, it follows the tropes of just about every other vampire story you'll ever see.
It does. It's a weird marriage of vampire and science fiction and somewhat a disaster alien invasion movie. It's kind of got all those elements. Got to pay tribute to the set. So like John Graysmark was the set designer.
And it has artistic clues from a lot of those different genres too. Like a lot of the early, like the opening scene where they find it is very similar to Alien.
Yeah, a lot like Alien.
There is some elements of that too. I guess Cannon thought if we put all these things in it, including the kitchen sink, it'll just be. This is what the public want, and it is weird that it didn't do as well as I think it should have. Even if you think it's a bit silly, it looks great, you know. on a big screen. It did look good.
Didn't you say Cocoon was out at the same time?
Cocoon the same week. Cocoon and the Goonies were released.
Yeah,
that's heavyweight stuff, man.
Yeah.
That was.
That's one of those, there's only so much you can do with the movie, with the movies other people are releasing that week, and yikes, you rolled a 1 on that.
Yeah, and Don Jacoby, one of the co-writer, he later said that he felt Tobe Hooper had misdirected it because he made it a little more comedic than it should have been. Like he kind of didn't take it as seriously as perhaps it should have been. I think the writers obviously felt it was a harder drama. I don't think there's any intentional comedy in the direction, but there's a lot of unintentional comedy.
Right.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of theories about why it didn't do so well.
I think they did well to play it as straight as they did.
They did. There is a lot of scenery chewing going on by some of the British thespians, I have to say. And Railsback, to be honest. I mean, Railsback is a good sweater, though. I must say he sweats well.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not in, what's that guy in The Expendables that sweats a lot? I can't remember the name of the actor, but he's not in that class, but he does sweat pretty well. So in the chat, you've all been wonderful. Lots of funny chats, really, Joe. If you could just give us your summing up about where you feel this movie sits in the pantheon. You don't have to score it or anything, but what do you like? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Is it a 10 out of 10? Is it a 0 out of 10? Whatever scoring you wish. Tell us what you think of this canon classic. I personally, it's one of my favorite canon movies. And it's got all the things I love about canon movies. You don't necessarily expect the greatest sense in the plot, or not necessarily even the biggest stars or whatever, but it's got a lot of guts in it, I think. It looks great. Its heart is in the right place.
It's better than it has any right to be.
Yeah. If KHC is giving it a 6 out of 9. It's a cult classic. I think it is too. I think it's like all these things. At the time, it had received a rough reception, but over the years, it's gained a cult following. I for one, love it. I mean,
look, this movie didn't do well on its initial run, but let me tell you, Blockbuster rented this movie out a lot.
Oh yeah,
a lot of people.
So, I'm going to agree with Davina here. When they aimed for the stars on this one, and unfortunately, they hit London.
They fell to earth on London. They did. It's impossible not to like it. I think it's a fun movie. I mean, I've watched it so many times back in the day on VHS. It's really especially good when you're drunk and stoned. It's just fun movie. You know what? I think I love the Henry Mancini score, but I think a metal score might have been even better.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. If you'd have gone with a heavy metal score, it'd probably be remembered a lot more than it was. Exactly. I think that it is great for what it is. It is a bunch of guys trying to make a sci-fi movie out of a book that was pretty popular, and they damned the torpedoes and did it with a smaller cast and just had a ball having fun making something fun. I enjoy it, man. I think it's great. Everything. Look, I don't know if Nick has done this on Toxic Tuesday, but this is by today's standards, would be a very toxic movie. But I think it's awesome. I love it. I think it's great.
I do too. I mean, David Glenn says it's one of my favorite naked women walking around not having sex movies.
That's it. That's it.
Smilex, it's a fun, cheesy film that I'd often catch on late night TV by chance. I mean, it would be butchered to hell on TV, of course, TV edit.
Oh, yeah.
If I ever found it while flicking the channels, I'd definitely stick around to the end. And that's a thing that I say a lot. If I came across it, if I was in a hotel room and I'm flicking through the channels and this was on, I'd watch it to the end.
I believe it's on
that's a
Tubi right
common
now,
canon
guys. If
thing.
you want to see it for nothing.
Spidey gives it 4 out of 5 out of 10. 4 out of 5 out of 10.
That's a very common canon movie reaction. Is like, it's not the best movie you've ever seen, but if it's on TV, you'll watch it to the end every time.
Yeah. So
Yeah, guys, it's on Tubi right now if you want to see it.
Yep, that's where I saw it.
D. Bud Martin, Railsback was much better than the Stuntman. Well, yeah, I mean, as Manson and in the Stuntman and other things he's done, he was. I think they didn't necessarily take this seriously. They gave it a lot in the acting, but maybe they overgave it. I don't know. Wicked Fanboy, hello, sir. It gets a 10 for me. It's one of Cannon's best films alongside Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 and many others. Yeah, I do like the Tobe Hoopers. The 3 Tobe Hoopers are great movies. Jonah Hex, it's a 1 boob out of 10.
100.
100 boobies out of 10 boobies. As a teenager, I can imagine, yes. It's not a difficult watch. It's just fun. Yeah, it's great. It's a Cannon classic.
It's definitely a check your brain at the door flick.
Yeah.
There's too many plot holes for you to take this seriously. It really is.
Yeah. So some great comments. Thank you everybody in the chat for giving us your views. John, what's your feeling about this in the pantheon of sci-fi and canon movies?
Well, it's definitely up there in the canon movies, but it's not like my favorite. And it does belong in the conversation when you talk about vampire tropes.
Yeah,
because it does follow a lot of the beats that were set down in the previous vampire films, and so it's definitely something that belongs in the conversation.
I know when we talk about vampire movies, and we've talked a lot about them in October because we're coming up for Halloween, and it's always a thing. I never think of this movie, and yet that's what it is. It's a vampire movie. Space
It's a vampire
vampires.
movie. When you really look at it, it's a vampire movie.
Yeah,
it
should be
feels very similar to some of the Hammer vampire movies from like the late 70s.
Oh, yeah, you can definitely see and feel the Quatermass influence on it. I don't know so much about Quatermass in the Pit. I kind of go more with the second Quatermass movie as the influence.
The Experiment, was that the Quatermass Experiment?
And that was the one where I guess you could say aliens had started possessing people on Earth, and they built that whole industrial section.
Oh, they were Martians originally or something, something like that. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that one. Yeah. Oh, I love those. I mean, they're great. It's very similar in tone to that, and of course, that's London too.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, do you like it, Imp? I mean, is this a movie?
Oh, I like it. I mean, it's kind of a derivative vampire movie. You don't really see too many science fiction vampire movies, but as you know, and it's good sci-fi overall. Great canon movie. I wouldn't consider it a great vampire movie.
No.
Although what I do like about it is, you do see the Quatermass influence, and you do see a bit of Lovecraft influence too.
Yep.
Well, there's a good, especially as they go to things like a mental institution.
Mm-hmm. The mental just something unknown coming from space.
Yeah. Which they do.
People want to say Lovecraft is all Cthulhu and stuff like that, but his big thing was the fear of the unknown, and what's the biggest unknown we have? Either under the sea or out in space at this point.
That's it.
Yep.
I'm wondering if the novel has even more of that feel in it.
I don't know, but I'm going to track it down.
Yeah, if anything else, I had no idea this was based on a book.
You just have to use your imagination in the novel more, though. It's no Matilda May, but you can picture her in it. Pope, where would you place this in your pantheon?
I'd say it's right in the middle of my canon kind of list of. It's not one of my favorites that they've done, but it's not a bad one either. It's not one I probably have, remembered was a canon movie, because I think I've seen this before, but I didn't remember it was a canon film until you mentioned it for this episode. But it's better than I remember it being.
It just looks good, does it? I mean, even if you like Malachi here said, a weak plot, character background. If you excuse or ignore that, the effects and the visuals,
and it's certainly aged well, because I mean, most Hollywood movies, the plot still doesn't make any sense, and they're not fun to look at anymore.
That's right, yeah. I assumed it was based on a Playboy letter. Yes.
Letter to
crayon.
Playboy. Oh, good Lord. That's great.
Yeah.
Written crayon.
It's a fun romp, which is actually all that I expect of a movie these days.
Well, yeah.
I love it. I mean, I love the effects and the look of it.
I think the special effects and the music and everything outweigh the plot holes that are in it. Because
so.
Thinking about it again, why in the hell were they letting Roseback walk around that city? I don't understand. Why are you even letting this guy walk around?
Especially as she seems to be key to the Matilda Mays plot. Whatever her plot is, because I never really quite explain that. Is she just
you think they'd be using him as bait to draw her in or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird that he's just like, yeah, we'll give him a pass. It's okay.
Hey, he survived up there. Yeah, he's got to be tough. Okay.
In the words of another great Scotsman, nah, it'll be fine.
Nah, it'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
It'll work out in the end. It's only London anyway. Burn it down. Most of the rest of Britain's going, yeah.
Believe it or not, this book is on Kindle.
Really?
Is it?
Okay. All right. Well, I've always meant to read it, and I've never ever got around to it. So I guess it's time. And it's only 120 pages. I can read that in a night. So
yeah.
Great. Fantastic. Really enjoyed that. Yeah, it's great. Fun movie. Visually great movie, and for various reasons. I can excuse the things that are wrong. So it's a great canon film. And we love canon.
And at the end of the day, canon films are just about having fun, man.
Exactly.
And it's a fun movie. It is.
Do we care that Charles Bronson blows people up with a rocket launcher in an apartment building? Of course we don't. Of course we don't care. It's the plot, the thought that counts, not the plot that counts.
Oh my God.
Great stuff. Gentlemen, it's been great having you all here again for Canon Film Club. We'll have to decide soon what to do next month for it. So, hey, chat, any ideas of what we should do next? Yeah, throw that in there. While you're throwing your ideas of the next Canon film we should cover, Joe, do you want to plug your stuff, mate?
Oh, shoot. I'll be on in about a half an hour from now on my channel playing the next, part 17 of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. The one guys just said I have to play, and I'm actually enjoying it. It's from 2003. It's widely considered to be one of the greatest Star Wars games ever, and I'm enjoying the lore of it. I'm on Tatooine, messing things up. Video games, cocktails, and fails here in about a half an hour on my channel, buddy.
I recently picked up this beautiful, in a thrift store, beautiful
Look at that.
Almost in perfect condition. Everything inside it that should be inside it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like $2 or something.
Yeah.
Beautiful copy.
Yeah, I'm playing on my wife got me, the lovely Foxy got me a Xbox Series S, and it only cost me $10 to buy it. So
yeah, Canon Films only, David. Yeah, we'll do another Canon Film Club next month. So anything you're particularly keen on. I was thinking of doing the Hercules movies, but we shall
Tim's
see.
talking about Delta Force. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
That might be the one then.
Well, we haven't done that one yet, buddy. And that's one of the biggies in their library.
That is one of the
doubt.
biggies. I don't want to blow my wad all in one go.
Right.
I'll keep some big ones back. But
we have already done Missing in Action, so
Yeah,
that's true. So go over to Joe's channel after this and check out his Kotor play. But yeah, we've done Missing in Action, but we should do Delta Force. So it's in the lead at the moment. John, buddy, what do you got to plug?
Well, tomorrow on my channel at 4, I am playing Starfield with the further adventures of Billy Bob, Space Trucker.
Billy Bob.
And on Wednesday and Friday at 10 a.m. on Pop Culture Minefield, I am playing Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty on Wednesday. And I'm doing Baldur's Gate 3 on Fridays.
Cool. So a lot of gaming going on with you guys.
Yep.
A lot of gaming. Good.
Yeah,
good.
we do a lot of gaming, me and John.
Nice.
Do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great.
But I'm not doing Godzilla shows.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've seen some of your Godzilla stuff, mate. And it's brilliant. I mean, it's so informative. because I really don't know all the kaiju details. So great stuff. Check those out. Check out Wolfen's channel, everybody, and go watch those Godzilla videos. They're brilliant. Yeah, thanks for being here, mate. Pope, what do you got going on?
Well, I just did a entire weekend full of Judas Priest material for the release of their new single, Panic Attack, where our intrepid host, myself, and the Sentinel did a Rumble exclusive where we broke down the new song, listened to it, and then gave our opinions on it. And then me and the Sentinel last night for Rock and Roll Religion did kind of a retrospective on Hellbent for Leather, which another classic Priest album, and kind of led into the modern sound. So we'll probably continue doing something in that vein for this week's episode. And I believe Courtney's going to join me on Thursday to do the history of punk.
Nice.
So that will be an interesting episode for pretty much from like 75 to 1980. So that's going to be a fun one. But with all that in the works, hopefully you guys enjoy that, and hopefully you'll stop by and hang out with us.
Love your music stuff, dude. Love it.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking Priest, because I know you love those guys. If you guys have never seen his arm, he's got the nicest Screaming for Vengeance tattoo you'll ever see.
Cool.
And if you've never heard someone fanboy over Judas Priest before, I am among the best.
Yeah.
And quite rightly too. And I enjoyed doing that stream with you the other day, mate, on Rumble. Go check Pope out on Rumble and YouTube, but Rumble. And,
we had a good conversation around that new track.
Oh yeah, it was good. Always happy to talk Priest any day. So thanks for being here, buddy. And Imp, my friend, anything going on you want to talk about?
Yeah, there has actually been some movement on my end for once. I got a buddy of mine who does a lot of filming of stuff. He's going to help me record some stuff regarding my gunplay addiction.
Okay. Well,
so might start seeing some giant plastic robots on my channel soon.
There you go, man.
Nice. Looking forward to that. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good.
I may or may not have just bought Space Vampires. So.
All right. Okay.
There you go.
Other than that, I do have some other stuff in the works. It's just a matter of getting everybody on the same page at the same time.
Yeah. No, good. Well, I'm looking forward to the giant plastic robots, though. That'll be fun.
Yeah, it's an addiction.
And a good one too. There are many worse ones.
Yeah. Well, oh no, this can get pretty expensive.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here, buddy.
He says in a stream with a 40K nerd.
Right.
Yeah. Fair.
So thanks for being here, buddy. Yeah, please everybody go and subscribe to these guys and watch the stuff. I'm very honored, deeply honored always that they choose to join me on this show, as we've been doing this for 2 years now or something. These shows, and you guys have stuck with me. You guys have stuck with me, and I'm very appreciative of it. And I hope $10 has been enough to keep you going. So,
hey man, you have been above and beyond one of the best supporters of all of us. So we have no choice but to support you, buddy.
We have a choice. It's just a matter if it's the honorable one or not.
That's it.
Is it mutually assured destruction? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Somebody mentioned Bolero. There you go. Another canon movie.
That's me, man.
But yeah, thanks for being here, guys. I'd like to thank everyone in the chat. It's been a fantastic crowd today. Thank you to Davina and Darius and D-Bud and others, maybe, but those three in particular for doing a ton of great modding and posting links and all that good stuff. I really do appreciate that, guys. Thank you very much. And thanks to everyone for being here. We've had suggestions for next Canon Film Club. We had Delta Force. Bolero was mentioned there. One day we'll get around to that. Or maybe we'll do the Happy Hooker Goes to Hollywood or whatever that one was.
Some of these might have to be Rumble exclusives.
It might have to be break. There's Breakin'. Somebody mentioned Breakin'. We haven't done that. Over the Top. We haven't done, of course. But Breakin' is another one that maybe in there. Because we want to don't want to just do the sort of genre ones. It's nice to do something a little bit different too. So, but yeah, Delta Force is feeling good at the moment, I think. So, Great, but yeah, thanks for being here. We had a lot of fun. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I will be doing. I'm working on like 3 videos right now, and I need to get crack on and finish them. One's a review of the Indian movie Jawan, which I finally got to see. A review of a Korean movie called Concrete Utopia, which was very interesting.
Which one was it? I saw you.
Yeah.
You did a short where you were fixing to go in to watch one.
That was the Dr. John and the Jesus, it's going right out of my head. Dr. Chon and the Talisman and the Lost Talisman. I didn't get the chance to see it, and these Korean movies are blink and miss at the cinema here. One cinema an hour and a half away from me. And the show for a week, and then they're going. But I finally saw Jawan, and I saw Concrete Utopia, which is a great Korean movie, very interesting dystopian disaster movie. And I'm also working on a science fiction novel video in my occasional series of those. A for Andromeda being the novel, which was also a TV show. And other than that, you'll see me on Mead on Toxic Tuesday tomorrow night, where we're doing Evil Dead 2.
There you
go. Thursday, 1 p.m. Mountain Time, Rock and Roll Rowdies over on their channel. We'll be talking to the lads again. There's some big stuff happening with those guys in terms of radio and TV, which is coming, which I'm very excited about. But we're working on. Those guys are going to get some big coverage soon. And then Saturday night, Bourbon and Boarding, me and Brahma. It's back on again. So
yeah, Bourbon and Boarding. Yeah,
Bourbon and Boarding. Tons of stuff.
I think it's funny that a lot of guys in our sphere make fun of us because of sports ball, but some of the most fun I have is the football one I do, and I know you love your Bourbon and Boarding.
We love doing
show.
The hockey stuff. Yeah, it's fun. And so thanks to everyone in the chat. I see you all. I see you. Some of you saying you had good fun. That's what it's all about. We're here to have some fun and talk about stuff we like, which is most important. So until next week, and I'm not quite sure what next week's show will be about, but I got a few ideas. Probably be back to music again, but we'll see. Keep an eye on my community page, community tab for that, and subscribe if you get the chance, if you like what we're doing. We will see you all again soon. Take care. Watch out for space vampires. If you see a naked French girl walking down the street towards you, think twice.
Arm's length.
It may
Arm's
not
length.
be what you expect, or if it's Patrick Stewart, you are free to kiss him if it's him. So let's so do that. So till next time, stay well. Take care, everybody. Is it going to end?
It might. One of these days. You never know.
One of these days.
You never know.
It's still going.